Hey, welcome back to another episode of Maintenance with Mike. As you can hear today, things are a bit crunchy. So, yeah, it's things are starting to melt at least. So I'll point you around here and show you what's going on here. You'll see the driveway starting to melt in some spots. Not going to be too much longer. We're going to be down to gravel here. So anyway, that's not what we're doing today. Whoa. Today we're going to walk up to the shop again, and I was meaning to get the oil changed in our motorcycles before we put them away for the winter, but it never happened. So let's walk up to the shop. We'll shuffle around some vehicles in the garage. We'll play the shell game. And we'll pull out a bike at a time and fire them up, get them nice and warm, and then we'll dump the oil, change the filter, fill them back up again, and then plug them back in and put them away for the winter. So that's the game plan. So let's get started. We're gonna let the bike warm up for a little bit here, and then we'll shut it off, pull the drain plug, spin the filter off, put some new oil in her, and put her back up on the lift for the winter. Always remember to chop the front wheel. This one has an actual grip thing here that catches it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this pin, it's a safety pin that goes through the lift, and then you can actually bring it back down onto that bar. There. Now the weight's essentially off the pump, and it's sitting on this bar. So let's get this skid plate off and dump the oil out. So one thing I want to share with everybody here: every time I work on my bike, I try to use all of the tools that I carry with me. So this bag is a bag from Mountain Equipment Co-op. It's like a shaving shower kit. So basically just open this up, and that's all that's in my kit. Obviously some specialized tools that I've made for measuring things, my bead breakers, all of my Torx, some big zip ties. Inside here, this is another spoon and a special axle removal nut. In here, I don't believe I carry the actual filter wrench for changing. We don't usually change the oil on the road. So in here you'll see all of my Torx, Allen, socket, 1/4" drive, 3/8 drive, some vice grips, bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Inside here, this is actually rim soap for taking, it's tire lube for taking the tire off and putting it back on so you can set the bead. These are actually a tubeless wheel made by Alpina, and although it's spoked, these spokes have O-rings, and so if you do get a puncture, I have one of those. It's an awl that you shove in the hole and you ream it out, and then you can pull one of those cords, the rubber cords, in to patch it in a pinch. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys what I carry with me in my pannier, and I always like to work on the bike using these tools. Okay, so first thing we need to do is take the skid plate off. This one's pretty simple to take off. It's these 2 bolts here and 2 bolts back here, and then the skid plate will drop right off. So it's a good thought. There is an oil drain access here. It does make a bit of a mess on the skid plate, but you can physically drain the oil without taking the skid plate off, but you can't get to the filter, which is up in here. That's just impossible to get to without taking it off. So let's get this plate off and then we will drain the oil. So one thing I forgot to mention that's very important about the shaving kit, tool kit that I've got, that I carry with me on the motorcycle. So the intent of that is when you're working on your bike at home, if you use any tool that you have to take out of your tool chest, you have to ask yourself, should that be in my kit? And if the answer is yes, then you either buy another one of those tools or you take that tool out of your kit. Maybe make a list for every time you go away on a trip or something, right? 2 more bolts up here. So I was wrong. 4 bolts. 4 bolts underneath and then the 2 in the front. So. And the plate comes right off. Nice and simple. You can see there's definitely some Loctite on those, which we want to redo again. Always look for any wetness around here. There'd be signs of pan leaking and stuff. Everything looks good. Okay, let's move this stuff out of the way here before we put the oil pan underneath. In case we have a bit of an Exxon Valdez spill here. We'll grab our oil pan, put it underneath here. What size is that? See, I don't have that size in my kit, which makes me wonder, do I ever do 7,000 kilometers on a trip that would require me to change the oil? And oh, I think I do actually. I do have it in my kit. So there goes that answer. And there's this cool little wrenches, 1/4 inch and 3/8, so you can flip it around. Now this is a torque spec on here, so this might be, yeah. But in my fancy, I've got this here that I use for tightening the front with, that I could probably slide on here in a pinch. So if I had to, it gives me a bit of a, let's call this a breaker bar. And I can actually crack that nut, which is good. This has a brass washer on it. Right here you can see we want to make sure we keep that with the drain plug, because otherwise, and I have to cut you off here a bit just to make sure I catch this oil, because it's going to spit out pretty quick here. And I run AMSOIL full synthetic 10W40. No special reason why, but that's what I've chosen to run in the bike, so that's what we use. Now you can't really see on here, but this is the oil drain plug. Pretty clean. I don't see any filings or anything on there. It looks really good. Very slight gray, sort of, which is just normal. So we want to clean up that drain plug to go back in. Now BMW will tell you you have to change this brass washer. I do, just because when the guys send me the filter and all the stuff I need, they send me the crush washer and all that as well. Which That's just personal preference, I guess, if you do that or not. We're going to undo the dipstick to let that flow a little better. And now we can probably move the drain pan over a bit so that we can catch the oil from the oil filter. Let's spin that off now. There we go, that's the right one. And it's a 3/8 drive, which is nice. We're going to spin this filter off. Here comes more oil. Okay, we're going to let that drain and we'll check back with you in a second. So I printed these out of my manual. So this engine oil capacity with filter change, 2.9 liters. And we're going to look at what the drain plug torque is. So we go here, we see oil drain plug, 40 Newton meters. So 2.9 liters and 40 Newton meters. So obviously you don't want to spray brake clean around here and clean this up until you put the new filter on and the oil drain plug back in. So we've got our new filter right here. And when they send me the filter, like I say, they actually drop the new crush washer in the box with it. So we're ready to go right out of the gate. So let's pull this plastic off. And we want to check and make sure that the old rubber O-ring has come off with the old filter. You'll see it there, still stuck to the old filter, just draining in the oil pan here. You want to make sure that that oil O-ring has come off, right? You want to dip your finger a little bit in the oil, run a bit around the O-ring of the new filter. Wipe this area clean, make sure it's nothing going on there. Make sure there's no sort of weird fuzziness or something on that O-ring. Everything looks good there. And we'll spin this on. Now we should check and see if there's a setting, torque setting for the oil filter. I think there is. Yes, there is. So we've set the, it's hard to see in this, but this is now set to 10 Newton meters. And that's for the oil filter. And we're going to tighten this up to 10 Newton meters. That's it. Which is, I believe, basically hand tight. I would say a little tighter than hand tight. I can just start to turn it now. So it's a little bit tighter than hand tight for sure. That's it. Now we can clean up around here the best we can with the rag. And then we'll put the spray a little brake clean in here and get that all cleaned up as much as possible. This is our only opportunity to keep this clean when the skid plate's off. Okay, let's put the oil drain plug in. And we've got, see, this is the original one, so we're going to take that off. We know that's the old one. Old one is on. Oh, did you see that? I just dropped that in the... That's the new one. Just dropped it in the bin of oil here, which is fine. Not a big deal. I was just trying to make sure that they were identical, which they are. Okay, so anyway, new one goes on the drain plug. Now let's take you around the other side and put that on. So here we've got the new crush washer on the drain plug. Always start it by hand. You don't want to cross thread this. And this is 40 Newton meters. So let's grab our socket. And this is a 10 mil socket, just in case you're wondering. And we're going to tighten this up until it bottoms out here. And we've got our torque wrench set to 40 Newton meters. That's it. That is tight. And it's a good thing to go around and check for any wet spots or leaks. This is obviously where the pan attaches to the bottom, the sump here. So if there were any leaking, you'd see something around here, it'd be all wet and stuff. And this is just normal road grunge. Okay, let's clean this up with some brake clean, and we'll be right back with you. Okay, so it's time to add the oil. Now we've got the filters on, drain plugs in. We just want to clean up around here a bit. Make sure the dipstick is clean. Make sure this O-ring looks like it's in good shape and it's clean around the O-ring, because that's what keeps dust and debris from getting. You want to make sure this is nice and clean. Okay, so let's add our 2.9 liters of AMSOIL synthetic. 10W40 is what I use. And off we go. Okay, so we put all three in, and the 2.9. What I do is when I put the 3 in, I don't hold it there and get every last drop out. And from what I've found, that kind of makes it perfect to the 2.9. It's very close to 3 liters, right? So you don't want to overfill it, so that's kind of how I do it. So let's we've cleaned the dipstick. We made sure the gasket's in good shape there and it's clean. We're gonna thread this back down. We've torqued the drain bolt. Oil filter is back on. We filled it with oil. Now we're gonna start it. So we want to make sure the green neutral light's on. Just to let that oil filter fill up with oil. Do a little bit of circulation. Go. Let's put the skid plate back on, and we need to write down the mileage in the logbook. So I'm pretty picky about my things, so I do have everything here. F150, 4Runner, F650GS, F800GS. So we are going to put this in the log, and the mileage is 42,000. And it is January 25th. January 25th, 2024. Oil and filter. At 42,000 kilometers. Last time the oil change was done, it was at 40,000 kilometers, so we only put 2,000 kilometers on these bikes. But it's the time, eh? You can't have oil sit in there for 5 years. It's just not a good idea. So I think this oil was probably in here for 2 years, which is pretty safe considering it's a synthetic oil. Some would say you're crazy to even change it. You would have run it longer, but you know what? I am who I am, so I changed it. I like the Loctite brand name. This is the 242, which is medium strength. So I just like to push this thing up onto the studs. Put a little bit of Loctite in the nut. And get it started here. There's one. A little bit of Loctite inside the nut. Lift this side up and get it started. A little bit of Loctite inside the nut. Get it started. And the last one, a little bit of Loctite in the nut. And get it started on the back. Let's do those front ones because I know these are a bit of a... These ones are a bit tough to line up sometimes. So let's put some Loctite on that bolt. And put it on the Allen wrench. And see if we can get that to catch. There we go. So tighten these ones up first. There's one. A little bit of Loctite on the other bolt. To start. There we go. Okay, so there's those two. And we put Loctite on all these already. So we just need to tighten these up. There's one. Four. And then wipe the excess Loctite off of the bolt. That's it. So one last thing about checking the oil. As we know that we put the exact amount by the recommendation by the manufacturer in, we know it's not underfilled, and we know it's not low, and we know it's not overfilled. But I don't check the oil on this bike normally until it's hot. Like I'll take it out for a good ride, I'll bring it back home, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll check it. Because I think what we're gonna find here is that this is probably reading, well, it's reading, where is that? Right in between. It's reading half right now. I got a sneaky feeling when we warm it up, get it good and hot, bring it home and check it, it's going to be at the max. It's halfway, so it's not going to hurt it. If we have to add a little bit more later, then so be it. So interesting thing with this particular bike, you should always read your manual. This bike, in order to check the oil, will say in the manual that you basically just bottom it out and you don't start turning it, and you measure it from here. So be very cautious. Always check your manual to see how your bike, the manufacturer says to measure it. With the dipstick screwed in, or with the dipstick just set in and not threaded in. But I just wanted to let everybody know we're doing an oil change on my wife's bike now, and you can see it's not white. Hers is like an ice blue color. This is a factory lowered BMW 650GS, which has the exact same parallel twin 798cc motor that my 800GS has in it. The reason we did this is because this bike we could order factory lowered because Michelle is vertically challenged, and we only take one set of tools with us on any of our motorcycle trips because the bikes are essentially identical. So we're going to change the oil in hers now, but it's the exact same procedure as we did for the 800GS. So, hey, thanks for watching another episode of Maintenance with Mike. So that is doing an oil change and a filter change on a BMW F800GS. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a bit today. If you find these videos helpful, maybe consider subscribing to our channel, share them with a family member or friend, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.